A viewer of mine asked me this question: do you find it hard to part with watches you love? I can't do it. Which brings me to two separate sections of his question. Number one, which watches have I parted with that I've regretted? And number two, how do I part with watches I love? And firstly, I'm actually going to deal with question two before I deal with question one. How do I part with watches that I love? And I asked myself, do I find it hard to part with watches that I love? Absolutely, that's a given. I think we wouldn't be human if we didn't find it difficult to let go of things we love. And what I'm about to share with you guys is first and foremost for me. But in saying that, many of you will also find this beneficial, but others might not. That's cool. That's why this watch hobby is so unique to each and every one of us. We're individuals and we have personal tastes, and we apply different rules and different habits in how we go about doing things. For me personally, I realized very young in life that when I accumulate way too many things, even things that I like, I begin to stop using them as often, and in turn, I love them even less. And that's a shame, because the watches that I've acquired, I did it for a reason. They spoke to me in one way or another. Now you notice I said the word acquired and not collected. I don't like the word collecting. It implies a subtle undertone of hoarding. For me, that's why I don't like to use that word very often. For my personal watches, my acquisitions. I like to acquire certain pieces and use them. And if I find that I don't have time to use them because there's too many of them, then it becomes an exercise in futility. You see, I have a golden rule in this hobby. 8 watches. That's it. I force myself not to go over 8 watches and I'm good. And why 8? Well, I'm glad you asked. 1 for every day of the week, plus 1 spare. Some people might have a 1 watch collection. Some have 3 watches. And some extend even past 100 and beyond. And that's cool, that's fine, whatever makes you happy. But for me, it's 8. Now this is where discipline and honesty and heaps of self-control comes in. And I mean heaps. See, I'm no different to the next person. It's only natural to desire the latest toys that come out. We see something new being released and, oh, I wouldn't mind having that. That's normal. After all, we've been conditioned to think this way from a very young age through television programming. These days, the internet and advertising does the exact same thing to us in a much more intense way. So discipline and self-control, for me, is the key. I got asked a while back, if money were not a hindrance and I was filthy rich, well, maybe not filthy, but very, very rich, would I still adhere to the rule of 8 watches? And my answer is yes, absolutely. You see, the same unhappiness comes upon my heart whether or not I can afford 1,000 watches or 100. And the reason is I can't physically use and enjoy all these timepieces. So the same rules apply regardless, whether I'm rich, whether I'm poor, 8 watches, period. So now that I've set a small foundation for me in this hobby, I'll answer the second question. How do I part with watches that I love? And the answer's simple. When 1 watch leaves my collection, 1 watch replaces it. That's it. The only criteria, I try to make sure that the watch replacing the outgoing one ticks enough boxes for me. What does that mean? The new watch that's coming into a small intimate watch box, for me, has to be pretty special. I also end up examining my heart to make sure that the outgoing watch is the least of my loved ones and currently usable watches. Simple. Now all of this sounds good in theory, and to be honest, the only real way to get this right for me is to make sure that my heart is not in the decision-making process. You see, in order for this methodology to work and continue to work for years to come, I need the discipline to use intellect only. Because if my heart gets involved in any way in this part of the process, then it doesn't work. It's very easy to fall into 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 watches, and very quickly. I've been there and I've done that and I was not happy, not at all. So the key for me is discipline and self-control. I set a couple of simple rules for me to follow, and by doing so I've managed to achieve happiness. But the heart has to be detached when making these decisions. Now moving on to the original question, question 1, which watches have I parted with that I've regretted? And the short answer is none. And the reason I don't regret any of the decisions I've made is because I've thought them through long and hard. And whilst I had the watches in my possession, I enjoyed them thoroughly. A while ago, a viewer said to me, we never really own any of these timepieces. We only look after them until they are either handed down or passed on to another enthusiast or watch lover. And that's a brilliant mindset. That speaks volumes. Just with that comment alone, we should be able to be delivered from any ailments regarding parting with watches you love. If we understand that the watches are just passing through for us to enjoy for a season, we stop being clingy and having separation anxiety issues. Now to that question, which watches have I parted with that I've regretted? I did say that the short answer was none. That's the short answer, absolutely. But do I really miss any of these watches that have gone through my hands over the years and are now not with me? Yes, of course I do. But I also find great contentment in the fact I've had a chance to enjoy and be part of that watch's story for a season, be it long or short. And that to me is marvellous. For me in life, there's been 3 hobbies that I love and enjoy with all my heart. Firstly, photography. Photography started out as a hobby for me, and it's been my profession for the last 30 plus years. I still love it, I still enjoy it, and as a bonus, it puts food on my table. It's a win-win. I studied, I learned my trade, I applied in the field every day, and it's like I haven't had to work for the past 30 years. It's been a hobby and so satisfying. The second hobby that I've loved over the years is acquiring fine optics. Binoculars, telescopes, specific lenses for my cameras with characteristic looks to them. Over the years, I've had the pleasure of owning and using countless pieces. Zeiss, Leica, Swarovski, Nikon, Voigtlander. I love these pieces that have gone through my hands. And again, some have remained, but that 8 or less rule applies here as well. And lastly, the third hobby that I enjoy immensely is tennis. But as much as I love tennis, I've come to terms with the fact that I'm terrible at it. And there's a difference between expectations and results. One day when I was playing a tennis match, I decided to record it on a video camera, just to see how I was faring. But when I watched the replay of the video, all I saw was a guy with 2 left hands and both shoelaces tied together. It was ridiculous. But it hasn't stopped my love for the game as I played every week and enjoy with everything that's within me. But again, I've digressed, guys. Let's get back on topic. So is it possible to let go of watches you love? Yes, of course it is. But I'm going to put a caveat in here. It's a lot easier for someone like myself having a YouTube channel and getting so many pieces from micro brands to coveted models go through my hands on a weekly basis. You see, I get my fix weekly, if you know what I mean. So the watches that are in my watch box, they stay put unless I really want to add something special that's caught my attention. And also I've exhausted the usage and love for a current piece. So in a nutshell, that's it. It's simple philosophy and simple rules. I don't have more than 8 watches in my collection at any time, and if I want to add an extra one, I've got to make sure that I'm prepared to let go of that one piece. It works well for me, it might not for others. I wanted to share this with you guys as this question was posed to me by one of my viewers. So hopefully some of you guys have found a benefit in this video, but whatever the case, I think it's healthy to get out there and enjoy this or even any other hobby you might have. And if at all possible, try to do things in moderation. For me personally, I found there's greater joy and a sense of achievement by applying these simple rules. It's both healthy for my bank account, it keeps me sane, it keeps me interested and always looking for different things in the current watches that are in my watch box to enjoy their beauty, the fascination with them, and why it is that I got into this hobby in the first place. Hit me up in the comments, guys. Let me know, which watches have you parted with that you've regretted? And how do you guys part with watches you love? I'm actually keen to see how others in this hobby differ in their mindset, and maybe we can mutually learn some things from each other. Just a little bit of food for thought.